Guys, we're back at Lake of the Ozarks this morning. So after fishing in New York, kind of had to get reacclimated again. I went out on Friday whenever I first got here, fished for about an hour, had one bite out on the main lake, that was it, and I flipped around some docks. Didn't have a lot of time though. And then yesterday didn't fish at all. Today, mostly gonna be fishing. So we'll see what we kind of figure out, but I'm gonna start this morning with a little bit of top water, some popper around some docks. Back of the cove here, just see what's going on before sun pops up, and then we'll hit some main lake points with some shaky heads, jigs, and then of course we'll be flipping around some docks with Zoom brush hog and probably a jig. So hopefully we catch some good fish. I know water temperature is about, I think, 85 degrees or so. Pretty consistent. When you get shallower, further back in the cuts, it was closer to 90 degrees. At least it was on Friday, but it did rain a little bit and it did cool off. So it hasn't been as hot the last 2 days. So hopefully it's around the 85-degree mark. So we'll see what we catch. What you got, Bernie? Oh, wait, come on. First little one this morning. Look how big his head is, how skinny his body is. Lordy, lordy. Main lake did not treat me well. Top water didn't do anything for me, so now I'm decided to go flipping. Little tried and true here, just a Zoom brush hog. First flip caught one, so hopefully that's a good sign of things to come. But that fish was skinny, really skinny. Spotted bass here, same thing. Really, really skinny. A little bit bigger head. So that's all we got so far, but hey, that's like my third pitch, flip, so we'll keep it going here. Got another one here, one after another. They're all little cookie cutters. So same thing as last year. I talk about it a lot. The bluegill spawn. Anytime you start getting close to that full moon, and the water temperature is around 75 degrees or a little more. Like right now, it's closer to 85 degrees. You're gonna get some bluegill that spawn back in the shallow area. So go back to some shallow docks, and I'm looking for just the darkest part of the dock, most shade where bass is gonna be sitting, and start pitching around a Zoom brush hog and just tip the tails with a little chartreuse. This one's got chartreuse all over the body because I touched the spike it jar and it had dye all over it, and that's what it ended up with. But I normally just do the tips of the tails. As you can see, fishing was nothing spectacular for me, but I hadn't been to Lake of the Ozarks in over a month. So, I was up north fishing and stuff, and I kind of had to get reacclimated, figure out what was going on again. From the last time I fished, they were running a lot of current, and now they're really not running any current at all. They're doing it just in the afternoons as it's been so hot to generate a little extra power. For the most part, they're not really doing it. So what that's doing is it's still kind of keeping the fish out there, but they're not as grouped up. They're more scattered, and then they're just not as willing to bite whenever they're not running that current, especially after they've been running so much like they were for so long when truing was high, and then it just kind of shuts it down. It hurts the bite. So there's still fish out on the main lake that can be caught. You're going to want to try and just slow down, drag like a shaky head or a jig through there, just real slow, or like a swim bait or something, kind of get them to react a little bit. But I tried some schools of fish I know were bass, only had like one or two bites, and I would throw swim baits through there, shaky heads, and on the swim baits I was changing up the size, colors, weights at the head, changed up my retrieve, just nothing. I get fish I would follow it pretty good distance, but can never get them to commit. And I know I wasted too much time trying to get some fish that just were not in the mood to eat. So, you can't force it. Sometimes it's better just to move on and look for a new school or change up kind of what you're doing. After the main lake didn't really pan out for me, I went back to some shallower docks and just started flipping a little bit. I'm kind of looking for what was left of bluegill spawn. Maybe another one that's going to be coming up with the full moon. But you can go in the backs of creeks, shallow areas around docks. I'm talking like 5 foot or less, and you can get in the right area and you'll see a ton of bluegill just swarming around the dock floats, being kind of back in the shade, coming out a little bit. And you can also find a lot of bluegill beds, especially on your side imaging. You kind of scan around a little bit back in the shallow flats areas, you'll see, a lot of bluegill beds. So the bluegill are definitely around, and the bass are there too. And when I'm targeting them, I'm just looking for the darkest, shadiest area of that dock. I'm pretty much going to have two baits when I'm doing that. I'm going to have either like a zoom brush hog, like I showed with the tails dyed chartreuse, or I'm going to throw like a jig. It could be a green pumpkin jig, it could be a jig with a little bit of orange in it, some sort of like flapping trailer. I'm going to dye those a little bit of chartreuse too, just on the tips. With the zoom brush hog, I'm going to flip it in there as far as I can and let it sink to the bottom. And I'm going to probably give it 1 or 2 hops, let it sit for a second, maybe another hop or two. If I don't have anything, I'm going to reel up, pick another pitch somewhere else. With a jig, you can pitch in the same areas, or what I started doing was I would just skip it as far as I could, underneath the walkways, anywhere near shade, just the best line that I can make the longest skip in there, and then just reel it back. And I had some fish come out and follow the jig, but again, never committed to it. So, the fish are there, you just kind of have to work with them a little bit. That's a little bit of the report. I honestly didn't fish as much, I spent a lot of time hanging out with my family, but, something I didn't really try that much was just brush piles on secondary points or around docks. I actually fished one secondary point with a brush pile and had a fish hooked up. It wasn't big or anything, and then I ended up going back to the dock pattern, and that was kind of the end of the fishing for that day. That's something I would definitely try, or you can go out and fish wave breaks or something in the mornings with top water, or you can throw swim baits and stuff around them and catch fish like that. I'll be out soon again, have a little better report, and do some more fishing, spend a little bit more time and try a few other things, kind of see what's going on and how things change. Because as you get a little bit closer to September, early to mid-August, that shallow bite's going to get better and better, and you'll be able to catch some more quality fish. It seems like, the current is done. They're never really going to stack back up like they were. And when they first come out of the post spawn out into the main lake, that's as good as it gets. They have so many fish that are out there, and then as they start to taper this current off and kind of mess with it and adjust the generation, some fish stay and get grouped up, but a lot of times they just start to disperse, and it'll never be as good until next year when they first make their initial push out there. Hopefully that gives you a little bit of insight of what's going on if you're going up to the lake. Don't totally expect to knock it out of the park. That doesn't mean you're not going to find something good and catch some quality fish or have a good day that kind of get on a little bit different pattern. We'll have a lot more videos for you. I've got some good stuff I want to do as far as like how-to stuff, and then I've still got the videos I want to do on down imaging, side imaging, and then live scope. Get everything cleared up for electronics so you can utilize them to your best of your ability. And then I've got some stuff with like equipment, what's good for the money, things I like to use, good bang for the buck, and you don't have to have a ton of money. Prices are crazy of everything, gas and just everything in life. So maybe some spots you can save some money and still have a quality product.